Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're gonna build a trailer.
See, we need to build a trailer to complement this guy. This has a drag and drive coming up, and we need a place to put all of our tools and equipment. So it's been demoted to the front garage while we build the trailer in the back garage. I've already purchased all my steel. For the main frame, we're gonna use 2x3 by 1/8 rectangular tubing. And I've got 1x3 and 1x1 by 1/16 wall rectangular and square tubing that I'm going to be using for the upper structure of this enclosed trailer. It doesn't have to be super heavy duty because there's no weight being really bared upon it. So yeah, let's get to it. So I decided to make this trailer a 4x6, but I'm gonna make the front of it have a bit of a nose to it, which gives it another foot right in the middle. You don't have to put a nose if you don't want, you can just square it off. I chose to put a 1-foot nose on it. And basically the most important thing here is to square it up. So measure corner to corner, tack it in place. You can manipulate it a little bit if you want, and then weld in solid once you got it correct. Here I'm throwing a 3,500 pound axle on. That gives me a 4.5 by 5 lug bolt pattern, which is superior over the 4 lug. You can run a 14, 15 inch tire on it. I then moved on to the upper structure. Not sure what the most efficient way of putting this together would have been. The way I chose was to do the outer frame, tack it all together, and then I welded the front uprights on the trailer, so I had something to set the whole frame on. It's what worked for me. All right, you can start to see what this thing's gonna look like. So I did 1x3 up top all the way around and in the front. The corner trim I have is 1x3 inch. This way I've got plenty of meat to screw my trim to and install my lights that I plan on putting in. So that's why I chose 1x3. And then the sides, just to hold the aluminum and the plywood on the inside, I just went by 1x1. Down here by the fenders, I just put a piece of the 1x3 in behind it, so I have more meat to screw the fender to. Like I can screw into the frame here, there, a couple across here, one down there. I don't want my fenders falling off. And I spaced it. I just took a piece of rectangular tubing, cut it to 2.5 inches tall, sat my fender on top of it. So I have 2.5 inches of clearance, which is plenty, given that I've only got 2.25 inches before I would bottom out the U-bolt to the frame anyway. So the frame, like the tire will never touch the fender, even if I weight this thing down till it maxes out. Now you can pretty much space these whatever you want. 16 on center, you can do. Just to make it uniform with my screw lines, I went 17 inch on centers. And then at the back, I wanted to give myself 4 inches width here. So that's why I kind of spaced them the way I did here, because I need room for my lights, the hinges, and the trim for the door is going to overlap by about 1.25 inches. And up here, I need a little bit more space because 1.25 inches plus the 3-inch trim. Now that I verified that everything is all square, I'm gonna weld it all out solid and we can move on to the aluminum. All right, so everything's welded out, painted. Actually, paint's still wet in some spots. The fenders are drying. I went and picked up my aluminum. This is, I believe it's .032 gauge aluminum, very thin. And I had Metal Supermarkets actually bend it up for me. So this is one complete side, the other complete side's here. So there will be no joint or seam at this corner or this corner. It's gonna wrap around from the door all the way up to the middle, one piece. This was a little bit longer than 8 feet, so I did have to special order this. I'm allowed to order up to 10 feet from Metal Supermarkets. So this was 102 3/4 inch total length. 4x8 sheet for the top. And then I actually have a 4x4 piece here for the door. So, I'm about to put the roof on first. Every enclosed trailer I've seen has used a thin strip of plywood to go down the middle. So I'm gonna slide this in there now, and the way I'm securing the ends is I cut a slot. I cut a slot in the front and back that I'm gonna feed the wood into. Like I'll feed the front end and then I'll just arch it, stuff it in the back, lay it flat. And I shouldn't need to hold it in place with anything. All right, clear coat has been applied. Painting is done. This is the same color I painted my truck. Now, if you're not interested in having your trailer match a specific color vehicle or whatever is going to be towed behind, I would not recommend going this route. Now, painting aluminum is more difficult than just painting steel. And this was my first time painting anything aluminum like this. And I did run into some problems, and I'm gonna have to just live with these issues for now, because I just don't have time to correct them. There was some kind of a reaction where it caused it to bubble here. It's weird, it's almost like it wrinkled or peeled a bit. So, I mean, I don't have time to fix that. And that wasn't the only spot that did. There's a couple other little spots that did that. I mean, I cleaned everything with acetone, and I don't understand why it did that, but I've heard of people having a hard time painting aluminum. So you can get aluminum already painted. You know, if you want a white, black, gray, whatever, you can get that. It is a little bit more money for those sheets of aluminum, but in the end, your time is worth something, and it still costs money for paint. So getting a certain color aluminum might be the best way to go for most people. Unfortunately for me, I wanted it to match the truck. So I just bought bare aluminum and fought my way through painting it. But now that we're done painting, we can get on to the trim. So I hit up a local trailer shop, and it's raining out. I just brought this all in from outside. This is what I'm going to be running along the top and bottom edge. So it's going to go all the way around the bottom, all the way around the top. And that's just a 1x3 capping. I don't even know what they have a specific name for it, but I'm just gonna call it corner trim. I've got this Z-shaped trim. That's gonna go around the door opening. I'm gonna run that all the way around the inside. And then I've got this H trim, I guess you can call it. That's what's gonna cap around the outside the door. So it's gonna overlap right on top of the Z trim. I got Metal Supermarkets to bend me up a piece of aluminum diamond plate. That's gonna be my stone guard in the front. They also bent me this piece to cap up the middle. I'm gonna throw my fenders back on, my wheels back on, and then I picked up these guys. These are just like, kind of like a jack stand or a leg that you'll see on the back of like the pop-up trailers, tent trailers. So this is gonna get a set of them. So I bought a jack that didn't have a wheel because I wanted to not move around the best I can anyway. Because if we detach the trailer from the truck and we want to climb inside, we don't want this thing to go like that. So we're gonna have legs at the back. So we have 3 points of contact that should be pretty sturdy. Trailer shouldn't move around too much. We can climb in there and be safe. And I've been debating this for a while just because I'm on a time crunch. Everything on the truck is this blue color and black. You know, black wheels, black roll cage, blue and black. Well, I've been debating, do I paint all this aluminum black? It'll match the fenders, the tongue's black, everything else is black. It adds a lot of time, but I think it'll be worth it in the end, especially with stuff like this. These are the hinges I'm using for the back door. I feel like this stuff's just gonna rust over time if I don't coat it. Like, even though this stuff's nickel plated, eventually it's gonna start rusting. And then I'll be wishing that I just spent the extra day and painted everything. So I'm gonna start cutting all these pieces, getting them fit. And then I guess you'll see in a moment whether I've decided I'm gonna paint or not. Okay, all my trim is on. I went along with a file and just kind of smoothed out the corners because it is sharp, so I don't want to catch myself on it or when I'm washing it. Ran a piece along the bottom too. Now around the back here, I had a piece of 1 inch by 1/16 angle iron, and I tucked it up underneath the back piece to act as a drip edge. That way water won't make its way down behind the door. Got my Z trim on all the way around. I did cut the lip off on the top here because when I go inside the trailer, I don't want to risk scraping my back ever on that because that won't feel good. So I ended up just taking my grinder and cutting it off. So you could get away with just using angle iron here as well. Got my little jack stands mounted to the back. So that way when I can put those down when I get in the trailer, it won't just flop up on me. And now I'm working on the door. My H trim is on, which is a bit of a fight because this H trim is only 1 inch wide inside. This stuff is 1 inch wide. So once you add the thickness of that aluminum, it made it hard to get on, but it's on. I actually sprayed some soap on it and made it easier. I'm gonna throw some 5/8 plywood on there. The reason I'm doing 5/8 is that I can mount stuff to the door wherever I want. And then once the plywood's mounted, I'm gonna try and mount the door. My opening here, I should have about a 1/4 inch gap on both sides. So I'm gonna put a strip of this 1/4 inch plywood there and a piece on each side to act as my spacer. Set the door in place and then mount my hinges. Well, you can probably tell in the time lapse, I painted the hinges because if anything's going to rust, those were going to be it. These have almost like some kind of a coating on it, so this may last a little longer before it starts to rust. But at least if I got to take this off, the door is not going to fall or nothing. This was going to be the biggest pain in the butt if I had to take these back off. So went ahead and painted them. Started bolting on all the accessories, like the license plate's bolted on because wiring is the next step. So license plate light is mounted. Unfortunately, I wanted to mount that light not on the door, but with the drip edge, it wasn't going to work up there. I had no room along here because of this thing swinging. Over here, I mean, the license plate fixture, I wanted to bolt into the metal frame. There is no metal frame in this area. So I did catch the metal bar coming down this way. So, I mean, that was the only place I could really put the license plate where it's be secured to something. And if I was to put the light down here on the frame, I was afraid it was easily going to get kicked and broken. So I will have to run the wiring probably down along the bottom to the hinge side, and then it's just going to have to move with the hinge. I started mounting stuff like this. I've got these marker lights mounted. I had to drill a hole in the side, and then when I shoved the wires in, I put some silicone, shoved in the rest of the way, mounted those. And I've gone ahead and marked out all the places I'm going to put a marker light. I'm using a bunch of 3/4 inch marker lights, and I picked these up off Amazon. These will be the tail lights. So I'm not going to bore you with another time lapse. I'm just going to go ahead and get everything drilled out, all the lights popped in so that I can wire it. All right, guys, let me walk you through what's going on here. Got the battery hooked up to my plug, just a 4-way plug. I had some extra loom laying around, so I used it where it made sense. And I didn't use it on everything because that's a lot of loom to go through. Most of it's pretty much protected. It will be protected by the wood. But I put in 3/4 inch marker lights all the way around. Step bits are your friend for stuff like this. Made it pretty quick. I just went along, burned in all the holes. My son went along behind me and popped all the lights in. Anything behind the axle, more or less, I put in red. Got my clearance lights up top, tail lights on the sides, license plate light on the door. Now, because of that guy, I cut a slit just maybe 1/4 of an inch deep with my skill saw and pushed the wires into the plywood and put the strip over top just to protect it. Another little piece of loom there. And all my wiring inside, I just tried to tuck up the best I could. You know, brought it around the frame. And I used These guys are awesome. They're cheap. The zip ties, the mountable zip ties with the little ring on the end, the eyelet, made mounting the wiring and securing it very, very simple and cheap, right? You just put a self-tapper, holds her in place. I went all the way along the top, everywhere with those guys. Because things like this can add up if you gotta use retainers like that, which I did use along the frame, right? Used them down there. But if I had to use those guys throughout the whole trailer, it's gonna cost a small fortune. So those little zip ties, mint. So I like having plenty of lights, so that's what I went for. You don't have to do all these marker lights if you don't want to. These ones I'm pretty sure are required. Obviously your tail lights are required. So next up is the rest of the plywood. I'm gonna use 5/8 on the floor and 3/8 on everything else, not the ceiling. We're not doing the ceiling, just floors and sides. So out of the whole job, this was probably the most painful. This really took a toll on the knees, and I probably should have got my kneeling pad out for this, but I thought it'd go a lot quicker and it wouldn't be too bad, but my knees were killing me after doing this, but it went pretty good. And if you've never used an E-Track before, these things are awesome. They're so versatile. You can strap anything anywhere. All right, guys, I just went around and siliconed all my joints, mainly just around the top. Like something like this, I didn't do the bottom side, I just did the top side because I don't want to trap any water in there if it happens to get in there. I want it to be able to just come out on its own. So, you know, I just went around, siliconed the top edge of everything, even the top corners of my door where my cuts aren't perfect. It's okay, just fill it with a little bit of silicone. But it's done. All the plywood's in. I got my E-Track mounted to the sides. I picked up a bunch of these little guys. You know, they just clip in and out. You can move them around. Got my spare tire. That's actually one of my race wheels that got damaged, slightly damaged, but it's still good, still holds air. It'll get me out of a pinch. So I got that strapped in the front. You know, started stocking it up. But we are done. I'm just gonna get this thing rolled outside, gonna hook it up to the truck, make sure all the lights work, and get to see what this thing finally looks like hooked up to the monster it's supposed to be pulled behind. Well, there's nothing negative you can say about that. That looks sick. Now, don't mind my hitch. I do have to get an extension. It's just too far in under the plate, so I couldn't even get it all the way on. So I'll just have to get an extension, move my hitch out here, and maybe get a flat one instead of a 2-inch drop because it doesn't need the drop. But that's how we're gonna be rolling next week. Trailer came out mint. I did give it a wash. All in all, that was a really simple trailer to build. And the reason why I built it myself was, for one, I wanted to match the truck. Two, this worked out to be about $1,500 cheaper than to buy one. I was around $2,500 Canadian into this build. The cheapest one I could price out was about $3,200 before tax. This was $2,500 after tax. The cheapest I could find was $3,200 before tax, and that was with the 12-inch tires, not the 15-inch I have on this. So I feel like I've got a better trailer than what I could have purchased if I bought the cheapest trailer. and and it matches the truck. But that'll do it for this video. We'll see you guys next time.